So from November 20th through December 3rd, I was in Spain for the first time. I packed lightly, by the way. It was an amazing journey and learning experience, and I'm working on a few videos for each city, so stay tuned. This video is about my stay in Madrid, the capital of Spain. I initially flew on Delta from LA to Barcelona, but first we had a connecting flight at JFK in New York, and then a flight from Barcelona to Madrid. At the end of our trip, we ended up back in Barcelona, but I'll cover that city in a different video. And I went with 3 friends from the United States. Before going to Madrid or any other city in Spain, you should get familiar with the metro system. You can find a metro map online, and around the stations and on the trains you can easily find information for each metro line. You'll likely use the metro to get to your hotel like we did. You can buy single ticket cards, or you can get cards with 10 trips loaded onto them. Also, one card can be used by more than one person, but each person will count for one trip, so keep that in mind if you're traveling with friends. You can also get all-day tourist passes for up to 7 days, but those are more expensive. And since most things are within walking distance, we didn't need to spend the extra money getting those passes. So here we are. Cheers, James. There you go. Just here. Hold on. Here we are. We're in Spain. There we go. Cheers, everybody. And what did they give us here? Would you like to introduce that?
Some Spanish wine and some tapas, some jamon.
Excellent. And we're staying at the Hyatt in Madrid. I'm with Jeff and Christina. Yes, here we are. And pretty crazy. 2022. The night we got there, we had a traditional Spanish dinner. Paella came out to about $16 each. Overall, food in Spain was super cheap. I'll cover more on that later. In the mornings, I had café con leche, which is super common at any cafe in Spain. This is usually less than $3. The architecture in Madrid is majestic. All throughout Spain, especially in Madrid, you'll see a lot of buildings in the neo-mudéjar style, which is a type of Moorish revival architecture. There is also a lot of neo-Gothic architecture as well. Literally everything seems to be built with solid stone. Early in the day, we walked from our hotel to Plaza de Espana. It's basically the town square in Madrid and is a popular tourist destination. It's known for its elaborate architecture, which includes a number of ornate buildings and monuments. It's also located next to the Spanish Senate building. When we went there, they were setting up for Christmas. I found a cool shop with coins and old currency. Spain now uses the euro, but I bought an old Spanish bill that features the face of Hernán Cortés on it. Overall, they have a lot of cool stuff in there if you're looking to take back a piece of history with you. Connected to the plaza are a bunch of side streets where you can eat lunch. And just like in the rest of Spain, there are a lot of butcher shops where you can buy jamon, which is basically a cured ham that is eaten by literally everyone in the country. This is by far the most common food you will see anywhere. Croquetas are also popular. They're basically stuffed and fried mashed potato balls. They're super delicious though. You can also get fish, albóndigas, which are meatballs that you'll see in other Hispanic countries, and sausages. There are also tons of candy shops in Spain. And the people in our group had a sweet tooth, so we stopped into a nearby shop to buy some candy.
I don't know what the hell this is on the third one there.
You can mix and match. It's for 100 grams, $3.50 euros, 350 euros.
Now, there are not many street vendors in Madrid. The street food that you see is mostly confined to central markets. It was raining, so we stopped by the nearby San Miguel market, and it did not disappoint. You'll definitely want to go here so you can try various types of Spanish food from all over the country. Interestingly, there are tons of tourists here, but don't let that deter you. The food is authentic. These folded bread taco looking things are stuffed with various types of meats and fish. Or you can get some olives and cheese at this place. Fresh fruits and juices. And of course, grab some jamón at one of the butcher shops. I got some diced meat while I was there. You can also get the famous bacalao, which is a dried and salted codfish. Mine was served on top of toasted bread. Make sure to try this, you will not regret it. Later, we walked by the Royal Palace of Madrid. And right next to it is the Paseo de las Estatuas, which features 13 statues of monarchs from various periods of Spain. These statues were crafted during the reign of Fernando IV, who ruled Spain from 1746 to 1759. That night, we got dinner together. You can get a bottle of beer for about $3. We also had Spain's version of camarones al mojo de ajo, which is a type of shrimp served with garlic sauce. We also eat this too in Mexico. We had some empanadas, a steak with potatoes and peppers, and an octopus tentacle in garlic and potato stew. Super yummy. Then we had dessert at a churros cafe. The place we went to was called San Ginés, which is probably the most popular spot for churros in Madrid. In Spain, I didn't see any churros doused in cinnamon, like you see in the US or Mexico. In Spain, it seems more common to eat them with a chocolate dipping sauce. They also have another storefront nearby where you can get chocolate and churros products to go. The next morning, I got up early to get some shots of the hotel. We stayed at the Thompson Madrid, which had barely opened in October 2022. They have rooftop access, so you can get good shots of the city. Now, what's great about this hotel is it comes with a multi-course breakfast. I got a tortilla, which in Spain oddly means omelet, so don't be confused when you see it on the menu. My meal also came with café con leche, orange juice, fruit, various cuts of hams, and bread.
Perfecto, gracias.
In Spain, it's common to use olive oil as a dipping sauce for bread. Definitely give that a try. I also had an apple dessert pastry. Later that morning, we finally went to go inside the Royal Palace of Madrid. For years, this was the official residence of the monarchy of Spain. Now, this building was only erected after 1734. Prior to that, it was the Royal Alcázar of Madrid, which was a fortress and palace complex built in the medieval period. And that structure was originally built in the second half of the 9th century AD by the Muslims when Madrid was under Moorish control. And so those original structures burned down in 1734, and this palace was built in its place. And it's one of the largest palaces in all of Europe.
It's funny, I was in Dubai with my mom, and then we were like the security person. They were like, can you take a photo of me?
You come in through the front entrance and follow a path that leads you through the building and into many of its rooms. On this banner here is the crest of Spain, which features the emblems of its historic kingdoms. This one is the crest of the crown of Castilla, which is the center of the Spanish monarchy. The local school children who were on a field trip to the palace.
De cosas de porcelana se trajo una receta secreta que la espió a los chinos y entonces vio cómo se hacían las porcelanas y se trajo la receta esta de, bueno, la fórmula de la porcelana. Entonces se trajo a trabajadores que les hacía firmar que nunca la iban a decir, como la de la Coca-Cola. La receta de la Coca-Cola no se puede decir y es única. Pues el rey hizo lo mismo con la porcelana. Entonces montó una fábrica de porcelana en el parque del Retiro. ¿Habéis estado en el parque del Retiro? Pues ahí montó.
Now, each room you walk through is very intricately decorated. One interesting thing that came to mind as I was walking through this palace was that some of its rooms were completed only during the period from 1810 to 1820. In other words, this building was still under construction even as the wars of independence were raging all across Latin America. I couldn't help but think that in its heyday, the builders of this palace must have thought that they were creating a monument to a brave new era of Hispanic leadership for the world. Instead, this building came at the end of an era, and in some ways it seems to stand as a mausoleum honoring a once mighty empire. Don't forget to stop by the Royal Armory of Madrid, which is also part of the palace complex. It houses many types of weapons that were used by the Spanish armed forces from various periods of Spain. These rapier swords were the kinds used by the conquistadors. There is also a pretty well-stocked souvenir shop with cool books. Now, right next to the Royal Palace of Madrid is the Cathedral of Madrid. It's called La Almudena Cathedral. And it's built in honor of the Virgin of Almudena, which is an image of the Virgin Mary that is said to have helped to lead the Spaniards to victory in reconquering the city from the Moors. She is the patroness saint of Madrid. there are separate times for Mass, so you can attend church if you'd like without the hassle of tourists. This seems to be the case at all churches in Spain. This cathedral was consecrated by Pope John Paul II in 1993, making it the first cathedral to ever be consecrated outside of Rome. This here is the statue of the Virgin of Almudena. Right behind the royal palace is the Sabatini Garden. I saw this statue of King Carlos III. He was the king of Spain who supported the United States in its War of Independence in the 1770s and the 1780s. Now, if you're into history like me, you should definitely stop by this bookstore. It's quite literally the best bookstore in Spain for books on the history of Hispanic America and the Spanish Empire. Have you ever heard of the Holy Child of Atocha? It's a unique depiction of Jesus in which he is dressed in the garb of a pilgrim. And there's a beautiful colonial-era church in Mexico in the town of Plateros, Zacatecas. And tens of thousands of religious pilgrims visit this site every year. So why is Jesus depicted with the clothing of a pilgrim? It quite possibly reflects the fact that the people who brought the image, the Spanish settlers, were themselves traveling pilgrims. Much of the reverence for this image is centered in Zacatecas, Mexico, but Atocha is a place in Spain. It's a district within Madrid, the capital. And I'm actually in Atocha right now. Right here on this street corner is the Royal Basilica of Atocha. This location has been a holy site for Catholics since as far back as perhaps the 7th century. Now inside this church they have a sculpture of the Blessed Virgin Mary that dates back to the 1100s AD. It's one of the oldest in all of Madrid. Another important historical fact about this church is that it's the burial site of Bartolomé de las Casas. Bartolomé de las Casas was a Catholic religious leader that fought for the rights of Native Americans during the colonial period. Now, I'm going to quietly go inside and try to get a shot of the sculpture. After checking out the church in Atocha, I joined my friends for a walk at the Retiro Park. This is a great place for a walk or a light jog. You can also rent a paddle boat and dart around the lake. Pick up some cheap snacks from one of these street vendors. There are also places to get lunch and coffee.
And then there's something that's like up over here as well.
We eventually made our way to this odd building. It's worth popping your head in there if you make it this far in the park.
I don't think it's possible. I could dance like those two people in there in the window.
Yeah.
Dudes were out there selling stuff, probably without a permit. Either way, buy something if you got extra cash. Always make sure to help out the local street vendors.
They have it on a rope, so they just pull the rope.
Uh-oh.
They probably can.
Where are the cops at? Where are the cops?
You have a little walkway for them. There's a dead bird right there.
Somebody gave him too much.
Later, we walked down to the Prado Art Museum. The building was designed in 1785 and it opened up as a museum in 1819. Some of the oldest artistic works go back to the 12th century, and they even have sculptures from the Roman era. It also houses artwork from famous painters like Francisco Goya and Diego Velázquez, and many of the works belong to the Spanish monarchy. Unfortunately, they were super strict about not taking pictures, but you should definitely put this place on your itinerary if you're in Madrid. You won't regret it. Later that night, we went for tapas and wine. Tapas are basically side dishes that people eat when they're having wine, beer, or other drinks. We got a charcuterie board with various meats and cheese and some sardines. We also had some croquetas and various other dishes, including tripas, which are pig stomach lining, as well as chorizo and fried squid. The next day, I went to the Museo de America. If you're in Madrid, you have to stop by this place. It houses tons of pre-Hispanic artistic works as well as art from the colonial period that came from all over the Americas. There are tons of artifacts from those periods as well. They actually had some Costa paintings as well as other paintings that gave you an idea of the type of clothing people wore during that time. Many of these paintings are super important to Latin American history, and they were painted by Hispanic and indigenous people in the Americas. My favorite was the painting called The Entry of Viceroy Archbishop Morcillo into Potosí. It depicts the time when the Viceroy Diego Morcillo took power in the Viceroyalty of Peru. You can see the type of attire worn by the soldiers and religious staff at that time. The most striking part was the fact that Spain's colonial forces were quite diverse at the time, with soldiers of all racial backgrounds. And you could see that depicted in the paintings. They also had a bastón de mando. Ritually, whenever a viceroy took power, he was given the bastón de mando as a symbol of the transfer of power. If you remember, the viceroy was the highest ranking office during the colonial period, and there was a viceroy in each of Spain's viceroyalties, and he served as the representative of the king. This transfer, the bastón de mando, is a tradition that was brought from Spain, and it developed in the Middle Ages. It's still practiced in some municipalities today after elections. Right next to the museum, there's a really cool observation tower that you can climb by elevator. You can get an excellent view of the city from there. Make sure to bring a good camera. On my last night in Madrid, I got some food at Tacos al Pastor, and my goodness, make sure to go find this place. They have delicious cochinita pibil tacos. Mind you, there are tons of Latin Americans in Spain, so if you're getting homesick, there is no shortage of delicious Latin American food in Madrid or other major cities. Now, check back on my page because I'll be posting other videos from this trip to Spain. And my next stop is the city of Sevilla.